What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Black Professional Project. And we are here today with another young, beautiful Black professional who's going to tell us all about her professional journey. But before we get into that, I just want to say, hey, my name is Kenton Hipsher. I am the CEO and founder of the Black Professionals Project. And our mission is to educate and inspire Black and Brown youth through the stories of Black and Brown professionals. Hopefully, they will get excited about some of the topics that we have for them today and pursue these careers in the future. So, without further ado, I present to you Miss Linnell.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your journey with the youth.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. In the background, you may see a little doggo there named Queso.
Yes.
One of my favorite Instagram dogs, also one of the cutest.
Thank you. It definitely is.
So, Linnell, will you tell them, what your profession is and what industry you work in?
Okay, so mine is a little bit strange. I have my Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. I have a minor in Spanish, and so right now I'm in the Air Force, but before then I was an engineer for a manufacturing mining company. So that makes sense.
Yes, totally. Great. So, how old are you? What's your age group? If you don't want to give a specific number, I understand. And what's your ethnicity? How do you describe it? And then where are you from?
Okay, so I'm from Indianapolis. That's where I was raised. I am 23 years old. I graduated in 2019. And my first engineering job was in Illinois. And now I'm in California doing space things for the Air Force, soon to be Space Force. So, did I answer all the questions?
Yes. And then what is your ethnicity? How would you describe yourself?
Okay. I would describe myself as Black American because none of my parents or grandparents are from Africa, so I'm technically not African American. I'm just a Black woman in America.
Gotcha. Respect that. So, you've had a lot of different experiences along your journey, which has brought you to where you are today. So would you mind, sharing a little bit about how you got started as far as your education? What was your academic track to bring you to where you are today?
Okay, so there was a minority engineering program of Indianapolis that I attended since I was in the 6th grade. And I had no idea what engineering was. I was kind of like, I'm just going to this thing because it's something to do once a month and it gets me out of my house because, 12-year-old things. So I went to this program and they had engineers and scientists and mathematicians who worked at a medicine facility. They had them there, and so they would host us, and so we would get exposed to things like building robots, so robotics. We would get exposed to coding, rocketry, all that kind of stuff to spark the interest in the youth in Indianapolis of color, which is kind of like what Ken's doing here with the Black Professionals videos. So it was kind of just to spark interest and see oh, guys, this is what you could do. You can get out of the hood. Come on, let's build this generational wealth type thing. So I did that from 6th grade to 12th grade. I was in AP classes like AP Calculus, AP Physics to try and boost up my application for Rose-Hulman because you guys didn't know. Ken went to Rose-Hulman. I don't know if you guys share that information, but we went to the same college. So I couldn't afford college, so I know I needed to work in high school to get to where I was going. So I did the AP Physics. I made my application look really good. And then I applied to Rose-Hulman, did that for 4 years, cried a lot, screamed. And then I became an engineer. So that's basically the background.
Cool. So you started off in some small programs, local programs to Indianapolis, and then you got excited and got inspired, and then started to pursue more of those STEM opportunities in high school, and then later off in college. At Rose, of course, one of the greatest engineering institutions in the United States, and now you are where you are today, which is amazing. So,
thank you.
What gets you excited about your career today? Like, why do you wake up in the morning and go, I'm ready to get after it. I'm excited. I'm pumped up.
Okay, so when I was an engineer, guys, we gotta do this timeline. So when I was an engineer, before I had to do my active duty service, what inspired me was that I was the youngest person in most of the rooms that I would go in. I was the youngest. I was the only African American. I was the only person of color in corporate America. That was what I was doing as an engineer. It inspired me to be that change, be that voice, be the person to break down the stereotype of, if anybody did have any preconceived notions about me just from looking at me. I mean, I'm filled with tattoos. I change my hair every day, basically. I wanted to change that and make sure I put my best foot forward. So that was really what excited me about engineering and being somebody that looks like me in a corporate environment, if that makes sense. Fast forward to where I am now as a space person, dealing with satellites and launching things and all that kind of stuff. That is, I don't know, it's just a different aspect. I like having a STEM background because it helps me understand the physical world more than my counterparts, and just helps me connect pieces of the puzzle faster than what other people can do. So that's gonna boost you up and make people, you're gonna have a higher credibility associated with a STEM degree, in my opinion, right off the bat, to other people that may not have had a STEM degree. So that's what excites me.
Dope. I think those are all great things. I mean, definitely being the youngest person in the room, the only person of color, are two things that have motivated me in my entire life. So it's cool to see that also reflected in your journey thus far and what you've experienced. So what is like a day in the life for you necessarily? I know maybe you don't want to get into the extreme details, but at least give us the general gist of what you're doing.
Okay, so right now, space me. I wake up, I put my uniform on, and I go to class for 8 hours. So it's something called technical school. So we're learning a lot about satellites and our capabilities and our assets, comparing those with things that the adversary might have, and how we can mitigate those capabilities and make them more vulnerabilities and limitations in the adversarial context. And then I go home, I take off my uniform, I go to the gym, and I come home, and hopefully my dog is cooperating. But that's basically my life as space. As an engineer, I would wake up, make my coffee, things were more relaxed. I'll make my coffee before work, get on my cute little business casual outfits. I would go into work. So usually we would have a morning meeting for the engineers or the supervisors, because my role that I was in was more managerial. It was more on you're going to be a supervisor track and not really an engineer track, because I like engineering management. I like being in charge of people kind of thing. That's more my vibe. Like, I can understand.
I'm a boss.
I'm a boss. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding. So that's kind of what I would do. We would have meetings, and then I would go out on the floor and just see how everyone was doing, interact with them, see what they needed for that day. if they needed me to communicate anything with their supervisor. So I was kind of like the liaison because I was under the facility manager, which is the highest person at my facility. That was, for what I was doing, that was the highest person. So I would kind of just like go and be a liaison between people and be like, hey, what do you need? What are some safety issues? Are there any safety problems in this area that we need to discuss that you want me to bring up? How can we mitigate those issues? That's basically what I would do. Then I would have lunch, and then I would just do some data, some root cause analysis for data in these large file systems. And then I would go to the gym straight after work, and then I would go home and play with queso. So it's kind of a common thing.
So what I hear is a lot of, meetings, technical training, work, of course, the regular work, and then fitness, which is a really key part of your life. And yes, the most important part of your life at this moment, the dog.
The star of the show.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's really, it's kind of ambiguous necessarily what engineers really do, and especially in management and what, space people are doing right now. So it's great to get more of an insight, kind of look behind the curtain as far as what your day-to-day life is. So in doing all of that, what would be some of the obstacles that you face, like a couple obstacles you could pick out and you're willing to share?
So, for example, if any of you are specifically women POC, it's always a challenge, I think, navigating the workspace that people like to use as like a buzzword. Everyone likes to use navigating the workspace, because you never want to be the angry Black woman, or you don't want to be seen as bossy. These are kind of derogatory terms associated with women who are trying to get the same things that men are trying to get, which is, improvements in the company, or you want to have your work recognized. So I think a challenge that I've had, at least in the workspace, is being the youngest. I've had ageism against me, like, oh, you don't know anything, like you just graduated college. And it's like, yeah, but I did graduate college, so like I know a little bit of something. Can't be stuck in your old ways, and that's going to be something that you guys are going to have to fight through on your own. Is just seeing like, okay, there are people in their 30s, 40s who have been at this company for 10 to 15 years. How am I going to show that I am valuable to the company? How am I going to show that I am like not just a girl who likes to get my nails and hair done, like change it all the time? Like, I have something to contribute. So I think pushing through that wall is more of a challenge for people, but I don't mind confrontation. So I feel like it was something that
That's
I just
right.
get over to good. So,
that's right. You like tell them, talk that talk. You a boss.
So yeah, those are kind of obstacles that I feel like people will face.
Okay. Yeah, I know, like you mentioned, that stereotype of, being a female person of color and being in a position of power, you can often come off as harsh or, rude or whatever, but those same sentiments from a male would not be received that way. So it's, it's really key that you have to understand that as a person of color, you shouldn't change who you are based on other people's perceptions. You have to live in your truth, and you have to know that if you're in a position of power, it's because you earned it. There's no other reason for that. And that if people don't respect you for that, that's their problem. That's not your problem. So exactly. I appreciate you for speaking up on that and saying that. But in addition to some of the obstacles that you had to face, what would you say is one misconception that people have about engineers and space people?
So, a misconception about engineers is that they're very, like, I'm a nerd, but we're not, I don't know, it's not like, people have the misconception that engineers are socially awkward, which can be true in some instances, but there's an overwhelming amount of engineers who know how to talk to people just fine. Like, we know how to talk to people, but that's what I feel like non-STEM degrees will try and, like, that's like the negative thing that they can think about people like engineers. Like, they're like, oh, you guys don't know how to talk to people. It's like, how did you think I got the job? I know how to talk to people, you know, that kind of thing. And then space is just like, I don't know, you have to be someone gee whiz smart person. I'm telling you right now, I am not that kind of person. Like, that's not what happens. You just have to be able to put in the work. That's all.
Yeah.
Have a good
Effort is key. You know, I tell people that all the time. Everybody in my family is always telling me, like, oh, you're the smart one whose school came easy to you, and that's why, you know, you're in the place that you are now. That's not true. There's a lot of people I went to school with who are much, much smarter than me. And, you know, what really it comes down to is me having to put in the effort. I just apply myself.
Yes, Kenton.
That's it. That's it. That's all that it takes. And if you can do that and be consistent, you can be successful. Hey, Queso.
That's all you need to be.
He came up, he was like, preach. Now I'm back to sleep.
I gotta say my piece.
So moving forward, you know, after talking about some of the misconceptions that they have, or that the general public may have, what would you say is probably 2 key pieces of advice you would give anybody who wants to follow in your footsteps or pursue a career like yours?
First of all, you have got to know your worth. Do not settle for anything less. Honestly, I feel like numbers are important. I got an offer from a steel company, the number 1 steel company. They offered me $65,000 starting. And I had worked for that company for 2 summer internships. And I was like, $65,000 is literally the minimum. That's, no. And my school's average starting salary was like $68,500. So I knew my worth, and so I contacted the HR lady and I said, hey, I feel like I have this skill set. I feel like I bring this to the table. I know my value. And so I sent in, like, hey, do you have a counter offer? And so they bumped it up to $68,500. I still rejected them, but I feel like a lot of people don't know their worth and will just settle for whatever a company, a professor, somebody, your family thinks of you. And that's how if you don't know your worth, that's how you're going to be complacent and not go to where you potentially need to be. So number 1 is know your worth. I accepted for a company that was like $75,000. So I was like, no, don't do it. Guys, do not settle. Like, know your worth. And then the second piece of advice would probably be to understand that you're not stupid. You are truly learning. I have no one in my immediate family or even closely extended family is an engineer or had any degree at all. Excuse me. Or had any degree at all. So I wasn't exposed to, I didn't know the difference between a nut and a bolt. Like, I'm so, like, I say that now and I'm just like, of course, I didn't know the difference between a nail and a screw. Like, I seriously thought, like, oh, it's just like little things that are, I didn't know that. My dad didn't teach me any of that. My mom didn't teach me any of that. No one. I wasn't exposed to that. So for me, the learning curve was like shooting in at me. And for other people whose parents were engineers or doctors or anything related to their field, of course, they're going to have more exposure to it. So you just have to be willing to expand your brain and truly know that you're not stupid. You're not stupid, but it's not impossible. Like, of course the material is hard, but it's not impossible. So you're just learning. You're going to be fine. If I can pass, you can pass. Trust me. Like, I don't know how I graduated, but I did. So know your worth, and it'll be fine.
Those are great pieces of advice, and to just provide some background or some benchmark here for, when you were talking about knowing your worth. $65,000 may sound like a lot to a lot of people, right? That may sound like a really, really great amount of money for you in your situation right now. But as an engineer coming out of college in that situation, $65,000 was not even close to how much she deserved, especially after having been at the company prior to that for 2 consecutive internships. So really know your value, know what you bring, and you'll be successful in that sense. But that's all the questions I have for you. It's gone by really fast, as usual, as it always does. But thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you giving your love, your support, your knowledge with me and the platform. And I'm sure there's going to be some young Black or brown youth out there that's going to be like, you know what, maybe this space people thing or this engineering thing might be worth it. It might be worth a little bit of my time and energy. And that's really all it comes down to. It's time and energy.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad I am a part of this.
You are, for sure, and I'm happy to have you. And I know that moving forward, you're going to be successful, and I only hope the best for you. So with that, is there anything else that you want to say? Any shout outs you want to give? Anything like that?
Shout out to the moms. I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, thank you, Ken, for having me. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact Kenton and he can just send you on over to me. But I hope you guys are all successful. And thank you again for having me.
Of course. Do you want to plug any of your other content or, products or anything like that?
I do sell wigs. So
hey.
That's where you can buy you a nice, cute unit. You know what I mean? So
give it to them again so they don't forget.
linksxlinnell.com.
There it is. And what I'll do is I'll throw the link in the description. So if you're trying to get these bundles,
period,
you can get these bundles. Of course. Well, thank you so much, Linnell. I really appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to look to the camera here, as I always do, and tell you guys to make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update, and so you can be exposed to all the different careers that are out here via faces that look just like yours. And hopefully that will bring some inspiration and some motivation to you to get up, learn more, and do more. So with that, it has been another great episode of the #Black Professionals Project, and we will see you guys next time.